Welcome
What
to
is off drama?
Halloween. My favorite holiday.
Wait, hold up.
The spookiest intro.
I don't know.
Keep talking. Hold up.
I don't know if I can make it through another 6 months of winter after Halloween. It's been the only thing giving me joy. I'm just kidding, but it actually is gonna suck because winter sucks, and I really like the fall.
What the hell are you talking about right now?
Winter sucks.
It's Halloween,
and
baby.
I like the fall season, and the fall season is ending as we speak. So,
It was a late October night.
guys, I gotta
And
tell
the three
scary
podcast
story.
boys stayed up and
We
talked
stayed up
about
until the
horror.
midnight hour.
A witching hour. Is that a monkey, motherfucker?
What is this? What is that?
I think this is copyright.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get striked for this. Turn it off.
Turn it off! Turn it off! No!
No.
Okay. As you know, this is the
spookiest thing I
second
can
part
think
of the
copyright
two-part.
claim.
It's the most spookiest time of the year.
Wait, yeah, we're going to do Christmas. We're going to do a Christmas episode.
Having a wonderful Halloween time. Simply having John's favorite Christmas song.
Are you done?
Simply having
We'll wait for you. We'll wait.
a wonderful Christmas time.
What are the movies for this week?
The ghost of Nich has spoken.
Hang on.
Ooh, I'm
Wait,
a
we have to
ghost
tap
and I'm
into the-
Carter.
We have to tap into the Ouija board. What does the Ouija board say the letter of the week is? Oh,
H.
H. It's an H.
Hold on, guys. I think I'm picking up some EVPs.
Did you guys hear that?
My specter levels are over the roof. There's oh my god, there's ectoplasm all over the place.
Oh my god, it's a ghost. It's a ghost. He's moving
Ghosts
my
aren't
camera.
real,
It's
Carter, you
it's
fucking idiot.
unfriended. It's moving the camera.
No, that would have been
around.
such a
It's
funny. That would have been a
host.
funny bit if we did a bit where we started the podcast, but then like turned it into an unfriended scenario.
Let's do it right now.
Well, it's too late. That would have been
No,
a
we
funny.
can't.
And that would
Okay.
take a lot more planning than we have time for. That just imagine that we did do that
Next
as
year.
a funny bit.
Next year.
Yeah, or forget. I'll edit that out so we can have the idea.
No. We
And then
won't do it. We'll forget.
We should have dressed up in costumes.
Ooh,
I'm wearing the same one I wore
spooky.
last episode. So
Yeah, you're dressed as a dork. A square.
shut the hell
Virgin.
up. You're dressed as a.
Say
so-
something. Don't. You're gonna say
something-
something that's gonna have to get edited out.
No,
I
I'm
know it.
not. I was trying to think of something I could say that would not get edited out.
Carter's racism was getting the
I'm not. It wasn't gonna be racist.
I thought
I
about
don't know
dressing
why
up
you
as this
jumped to
guy.
that.
would say.
What?
I was
I
gonna
was
dress up
trying
as
to
this
make
guy.
a joke about something, but I'm not good on my feet. I'm not a very funny person.
Quick on your feet. H. H is the movies.
H-bomb.
Wait a second. I just realized H.
Wait, H as in Halloween.
Halloween. What a funny coincidence. That's just
Yo,
beautiful.
now that I think about it, oh yeah, I should have probably explained why I didn't pick House that Jack built. Because remember, we've teased multiple episodes that whenever H comes, I'm gonna pick House
House of Jack
built.
Bill. That'll be a Patreon exclusive.
That's
Sparks are guaranteed to fly when discussing that.
Mhm.
You're not gonna want to miss it. That will be a patron
Yeah.
exclusive episode.
delayed. Yeah, we'll put that shit on pay-per-view.
Yep, it's gonna go down. We'll keep it at that.
I can almost guarantee it.
It's
Sorry.
about to go down. H, who's going first?
Let's get into this.
Who's going first?
Are we starting with House of a Thousand Corpses or Hounds of Love or Haxan?
Are we?
I think we should start.
With the House of a Thousand Corpses, right? Is that what we picked? Or did we pick Hounds of Love?
Jesus Christ.
Hounds of Love is in the middle. House of
Okay,
House
yeah.
of the
So
Thousand
House of a Thousand
Corpses.
Corpses. All right, Nick. What is a House of a Thousand Corpses about?
By Robert
Gather
Zombie.
around, kitties. By
Robert.
Robert Zombie.
That's his Christian name. He was
House-
born with that name,
House
Rob
of a
Zombie.
Thousand Corpses. Ooh. It follows Dwight from The Office and Chris Hardwick from Talking Dead. As they...
That's funny. I didn't think about that. Talking Dead. Oh. That's so wild that they made a whole other shows where they talked about their own.
That show was
Just
so
talked about
popular
the show.
at a
They
point in
talked about
time.
their own
Who the
shows.
fuck?
So weird.
Who the fuck cares that much?
And it's like, what about fucking Walking Dead do you need explained to you? What?
I don't think I
What
ever
is there to
watched a
discuss?
show that was so good that I wanted an hour of commentary in addition to the.
I think it was 30 minutes to be fair, but
Oh, really?
I think. But
No,
it's neither
a
here nor there.
3-hour marathon. All right.
Like our fucking pod.
Walking
kids,
Dead.
they-
What is that on season like 20 now?
I don't give a fuck.
Now they're fucking zombies now, I think. They're
Whoa!
fucking-
Don't.
They're
Jesus,
fucking
this is a
fucking
PG show.
zombies. No, we're in Rob Zombie's house now. It's hard.
It's not PG when Rob shows up.
These kids, they go to Captain Stirling's haunted house of horrors and mayhem, and
I don't think that's what it's
Shit.
called.
I don't remember the name.
Isn't
of
it like
I
the
think that's what
murder
it was.
ride or
He sold-
something?
He sold chicken there too.
It was called The House of a Thousand Corpses.
No, it was not.
The house. The
Some
house that
shit.
the house that a thousand corpses.
Yeah,
built.
the house that corpse
Anyways,
built.
they learn about Dr. Satan, and they're like, "I want to see the tree where that motherfucker was
Dr.
hung."
Satan.
And he's like, "Whatever gets your rocks off, bud." And here's the
Yo,
tree.
did
and
you-
then-
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but John, did you pick up on the Albert Fish?
I did.
You remember the Norm Macdonald joke about him?
I did.
I thought it was an imaginary person.
I didn't think
can't
about it
believe-
until now, but now
Yeah.
you've jogged my memory. Albert Fish.
That's so crazy.
Anyways,
What a real jerk.
They go to this house, and everyone's crazy, and it turns into a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What did you guys think?
I loved it.
Oh,
This movie
yeah, I'm feeling a no. Oh
is
boy.
what? You didn't like it?
Talk about the
No.
editing completely
This is the
fucking
most-
burying your movie.
Actually, no. I think the editing is one of the strong points, but
What didn't you like?
What?
All right, wait. This is
it just
such
did
a-
not. I understand why anyone would like this. It just really did not
No,
click
I
with
can
me.
understand.
This is such a like
understand why
love
people
letter
like
to
this.
horror movies, and that's what
thought
I really dug about it.
the
I'll
humor.
say
and
this.
It's just
none of-
such a.
Okay, you
it's
go
such a-
first, and then I'll.
Yeah, I'll go
respond.
first. You guys can talk about it. I just think it's a love letter to horror movies. Clearly takes a lot of inspiration from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And fails.
It's not going for the same tone at all, though.
I know, but I don't even think it like even comes
I-
close to even capturing like the perversity of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I think it comes close a little bit. I think
But it
it's-
doesn't.
This movie's just a
going.
ton of fun, and I think that it's got insane pacing and crazy editing choices, and the set design is insane, and you'll get a headache watching it. But it's just clearly he made a movie that he wanted to make, and it is just a love letter to horror movies
It's
and
funny that you
violence.
say that.
And there's a montage of cops being killed, and he wears a skiing suit made out of the girl's dad, and it's just I got a headache, and it's just sensory overload, and I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it's just like, I don't know, there's something just really kind of charming about it, which is odd to say, and I don't know. There's just a lot of characters that I like too. I really liked Captain Spaulding. I thought he was funny and
He was the best part of
just
the movie, in
awesome.
my
He was
opinion.
I think
so
was-
fun to watch, and I think the family was pretty fun to watch too. Honestly, I liked
The other one's
what
just
is it,
annoying.
Tiny? tiny, and I thought he was entertaining. I thought the main.
He didn't even fucking talk.
Yeah, but there was a lot of memorable
What?
scenes with him. What are you talking about? The scene where he just lets her go, and it's just like, whatever, you can leave.
I
He's
liked
eating
Bill
cereal.
Moseley. Like, I think Bill Moseley's a good actor.
Yeah, I think I can like distinctly envision each member of the family, and they each have their own like character traits that I remember. All of the sets are super memorable and crazy and
Agreed.
detailed, and yeah, sure, the editing's kind of bad, but it's also kind of unique and
I like
fun
the
and
editing.
crazy, and like as like jumbled and messy and like I don't know, I guess politically incorrect as this movie is. It's just kind of a blast, and like I said, it's a love letter to like Halloween and just horror in general, and it's super derivative of a lot of other horror movies, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2. But like I kind of don't even care. It's just he made the movie he wanted to make, and
Wait, Carter, you know
what?
who Bill Moseley plays, right?
Is he the
Bill Murray.
who does Bill Moseley play? I don't want to
He plays
embarrass
Chop
myself.
Chop in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and he plays that one guy with long hair in this movie.
Oh yeah, that's where I recognized him from. He's great. He's great in this movie.
Yeah.
Come on, you get to see Dwight as a half mermaid man. Come on, this movie's the best. I really liked it. I had a
Come
ton
on,
of
man.
fun.
Talk
I know
about
it's super
Rick
derivative.
L.
Quite honestly, it just made me want to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre again because I really lowballed it with my last rating.
Watching this after Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think maybe is part of my problem.
Yeah,
Because
but
it just made me want to.
at the same time, it's like this is going for a completely different thing. Like, and it's
Agree,
just
but let me
so much
make
fun.
my.
But
I
no,
think
I'm finished. Go talk
for
about why you didn't
me,
like it.
I understand what the appeal is. I understand why people like this. For me, it just ended up being like juvenile in a way that I didn't find necessarily entertaining. I didn't think a lot of the comedy worked for me at all. I didn't like especially in the first half, I didn't like the way any of the characters talked, especially Jerry or whatever his name. I fucking hated him. I couldn't wait for them to die. I do think it does pick up in the second act, and I think once it gets into the wild shit, like when she goes down in that bunker, I think that's kind of when it's at its best. I think it's at its best there, and it's at its best with the weird like snuff TV interstitial stuff that
that
it
stuff, I
feels
love that
feels
stuff.
like you're like flipping through the channels, like horror channels. That's what I'm saying. Like I think the experimental editing is what makes this unique and is what I enjoyed the most. I just think a lot of the stuff in between did not connect with me because I just did not necessarily find it entertaining. And I guess I think it understands what makes Texas Chainsaw good, but I don't think it necessarily. I get what you're saying that it's going for something different, but I think what it's going for it just didn't land for me in pure entertainment. I guess I just found a good amount of this to like annoy me a little bit. I never felt like I'm enjoying this, if that makes sense.
I understand where you're coming. I did enjoy it though.
Yeah, I think that's what this movie comes down to. You either enjoyed the time you had with it or you didn't. And like maybe if I were to watch this with people, I'd enjoy it more. But I don't know if it was like the mood I was in or what, but it just didn't, it never clicked for me until about like the very end when she like goes down and there's this fucking crazy spider guy and then there's this guy in a mech suit or I don't even know what it was. Like that stuff when it gets wild and like the completely like forgets that it even has a plot. I think that's where it gets good. But I just found myself a little annoyed, especially in like the first act when it was just like characters talking.
See, this is where I think this is more similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I don't know
I
if
haven't
you
seen
guys
that.
seen. You've seen it,
I've
right,
seen
Nick?
it. Yeah, I think
It's
it's
very similar to that movie. And I really like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where I think this movie almost works a little better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, is that it goes so over the top. And with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I think I don't know. It's just something odd about it being the next film in the franchise. I feel like it needs to be a little breather between what Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is and what the first one is.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is what Tobe Hooper wanted to make. He wanted to make a dark comedy originally when he was making Texas Chainsaw
I think parts of
Massacre.
Texas Chainsaw is dark comedy.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah,
dinner
for
scene,
sure.
Some of that in
the
there.
dinner scene is. I just
Get him, Grandpa.
God.
Yeah.
It's just. I don't. Maybe I'm just like being like stuck up just because I think like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like borderline perfect horror movie, and I think that for me worked both on levels of pure horror and like terror and dread, and it worked on levels of like black comedy, where
Yeah, I agree with you.
this movie didn't
craziness at the beginning.
necessarily work on either level for me. It never worked as like a horror movie necessarily until like the end, and I never like. The only entertaining stuff I found was just how like weirdly paced and like plotted it was.
I'm not here to debate. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is far superior to this movie. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 is far superior to this movie.
I'm not saying.
I just think after watching the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there is part of me that's kind of depressed at the direction 2 went, even though I still enjoy that movie for what it is. It does kind of feel like,
I should watch it.
even though Tobe Hooper made it, it does kind of feel like it's mocking what made the first one so good, especially with the ending. And like, I think like with this movie, I just felt like a pure love for like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and just grotesque juvenile horror movies in general. And like, I think that's what made it so enjoyable for me, is that there's like a clear love of Halloween and like dirtiness that is like very enjoyable.
I think that is like the best part, because I do think like Robert Zombie does he does like really love the genre, and I think he cares about the genre, and he emulated the genre in a good, like he clearly put a lot of effort into it. It just I guess maybe just like his style of like writing or whatever, like just the tone of this never, it just annoyed me at times, and it made me like, I even wrote down, I was like, I would rather just be watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre again, which is it's unfair to compare the two, because they are different in a lot of ways, and like it's unfair to compare anything to something I think is a masterpiece. But when it's this derivative or clearly trying to like play off of that, it's hard not to.
I'll say this: I've seen other things from Rob Zombie. I don't like it. I just hate his writing in general. I think like most of the characters he writes are just annoying and over the top vulgar. Like I
think it worked in this movie.
Halloween.
I just thought it was annoying.
See, I think what I found frustrating. I think
I liked.
Wait, Nick hasn't really said much.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to piggyback off of his Halloween comment.
And Bill Moseley, like I like them in this movie, but like every other character just annoys the shit out of me. It makes it harder to watch, especially when it seems like Rob Zombie wants to like root for these terrible people. So I get like this weird feeling. It's like I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling.
See, but I did kind of like them. I mean, it's like the same way I like the Leatherface family and like especially in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I'm rooting for them.
Well, I'm talking more about like the so-called good guys in this annoyed the shit out of me. Like the fucking
what are the good guys?
Like specifically the Jerry character, like, which is not Dwight, it's the other guy. He was so annoying.
They're clearly not the good guys. That's why they're so annoying. And then when they die,
there
die
are no
horrific,
good guys.
awesome.
You know, that's why I said quote unquote good guys, because I didn't know what else to call them.
Yeah, but I was never rooting for them, and I thought the way they died was satisfying and awesome.
I know, but like we had to stay with them for the entire first act, and it just took so long. I didn't even like
dad subplot that like goes nowhere besides like,
no, it goes into an awesome montage of them killing the supposed
that montage is
heroes.
Good. But even like some of the family I found annoying. Like I found the mom really annoying. I found the daughter annoying.
That's Rob Zombie.
They didn't bother me that much.
Better keep your.
That's his
lips
wife.
shut.
Sorry, Miss
Yeah,
Yeah,
Madam
seriously.
Madam Zombie, Ms. Zombie.
She's also in the Halloween remake.
But what I was
don't.
gonna say about the Halloween remake is, I think a part of the reason people hate that so much is because it's like shitting on this like franchise that they love, and like I know that wasn't the
That's-
intention of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but like I did kind of get the vibe that it was just like poking fun of at this movie I love, and that was kind of annoying to me. And in
That's
this
not
movie, I
why
just feel
don't
pure
like
love.
Halloween though. Like
No, I know I
Halloween-
haven't seen the Halloween remake, and so I have no comment on that. But I think that's part of the reason people hate it so much, is because
Well, yeah, the reason some people do is they can't like see this detached, even though John Carpenter himself has said like, I told Rob Zombie make it his own, and he did. That's all you have to say about it. It's just that I don't think like his vision necessarily really works for me a lot of the time. Like I didn't hate this movie. It's just like, it's that writing style. It always gets me. It annoys me. Like grates on me.
problem.
Like I said, it just ended up being like juvenile in a way that I just didn't find charming, and I found like annoying, I guess. Which
Yeah.
it's just a taste thing, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was my mood that I was in. I don't know necessarily how to describe it, but it just never clicked with me until about like the end. But that was more like set design, costume design stuff. There's undeniably a love for the genre here, and I think the experimental like genre stuff is cool, but I don't know. I wish I liked it
Yeah,
more.
I don't have much to say. Yeah, I went in with an open mind. It was just like,
I said, Mr.
I
Zombie,
don't know. Didn't work for me.
I'm yours. Because I've never seen a zombie,
Robert, you failed
As-
me.
an RZ film. I don't know.
Yeah.
Me neither. This
I've
was my
seen it.
first one.
You'll never forget your
I
first
will
zombie.
check out more of his movies though, but
Yeah, Nick's the
still
resident
had
horror
highlights.
head. Okay,
I try to think so.
we can do scores.
All right, scores. What are you guys thinking?
John, you go first.
It's between a 4 and a 5. I'll go 5. 5, yeah. Reluctant 5. Nick?
I'll go 4.
I'm between a 7 and an 8. It's like borderline an 8 for me. I just really
Okay.
loved it.
Carter's a little
Alright,
a
what's
child
next
who likes
on the
child.
Little
docket?
zombie head.
All right,
Yeah,
next
like
is
child movies. Speaking of
That's
child
so
movies,
poopy.
Hounds of Love.
what's Hounds of
Ew.
Love about?
Complete tonal shift from House of a Thousand Corpses.
What do you mean? I was dying laughing during this one.
Hounds of Love is about a couple
Directed
which
by
abducts Bang Young.
Thank
Couple
you.
who abducts a girl who it's about a young girl, I think like teenager, right? Like 16, 17 maybe.
I
Yes.
mean, she's a teenager, but that's a big.
She is abducted and raped and tortured by this couple, and that's pretty much the movie. And then at the end she escapes, and it has a lot of stuff to do about domestic abuse and parenting in general. And what did you guys think of Hounds of Love?
Who wants to go first?
It was pretty good. I didn't think it was incredible, but I definitely appreciate what it is. I had issues, but you know, it's a bold movie. It's not an easy one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
And don't show this one to grandma
Or do. You don't know. Maybe grandma's into this kind of stuff.
or dude. That bitch deserves it. Sorry. Whoops.
I think I'm-
Who's going next?
I think I'm more, again, like mixed positive on this. Definitely, I think more positive than anything else we've watched in this horror twosome. I think it does a lot of stuff right.
I disagree.
Disagree with what?
Disagree with what?
That's the best? No.
That for me.
It's no burial grounds.
Oh,
Oh,
but I think it does a lot of stuff right. I think there's a lot of really great like suspense and tension, especially in the first two acts. I think the wife's performance is a standout.
I agree.
really
I
liked
think all of the
her.
performances in this
I
movie
think
are
all the
very good.
performances are great, but I think she really stood out as the most like nuanced. I think what else? I actually didn't write a lot of notes in this because I was pretty invested in it for most of it. I think it kind of falls apart a little bit at the very ends.
Really?
Just with a lot of like the slow-mo stuff and like musical choices. I found a little not like
Yeah, the
ending
music towards the
breaking,
ends.
but like it was just a
I
lot of
don't
like
agree.
let me finish. I'm not I'm not saying it like no, I'm saying it this isn't like a huge complaint. It's just a little bit of like a lot of like slow-mo editing and like the musical choice at the end kind of just annoyed me. It came off a little cheesy for me. I like the ending of the obviously I like the ending of the wife killing the guy, of course. We can get into more plot specific stuff. Overall, I thought it was just a solid one of these, like a solid I don't know what the kidnapping movie, I guess if that's what you call it, capture escape movie. I think it's super solid one of those. But I don't know if it necessarily
Romantic
does
comedy.
anything to like escalate it within the genre. I just think it's a super solid one. Go ahead, Carter.
Yeah, there's a really good review on Letterboxd by the now deceased Eli Hayes. Do you guys know him?
Yes. Rest in peace.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I've heard of him.
he's a filmmaker, but he recently died. But he wrote a review, and it was basically just like he was questioning. He said, "I was questioning the morality for this whole movie." Like the morality of what was being depicted this whole movie.
That too.
And then he said, but then in the final scene, it like all clicked for him and he almost cried. So that's kind of how I felt about it, is that, I don't know, whenever you're depicting real life events and you kind of movieify it, it's kind of challenging. But I do think this has a deeper message than just like creating a tense thriller horror movie. And it does say a lot about like domestic relationship, like domestic abuse and like relationships. And I don't know, I thought the ending was very powerful and I really enjoyed it. The movie itself is pretty hard to watch. Like we said, I think all of the performances are great.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty well shot for the most part, and
I don't know. That's where most of my gripes came.
Really?
Like, it's not badly shot. It's just that it just comes into this like, oh, we're going shaky cam again.
I like
I
how
didn't
it was
really get
shot.
that. I think it was solidly shot, and I think this is really a pretty effective thriller because it really worked for me. I was getting nervous for her. I
Me too.
really cared about the characters, and I thought the couple's relationship was really interesting, and seeing how like the power dynamic shifted throughout the movie.
I love how
And
it sorry to butt in, but just to hop off that, I love how it showed like him going out and getting like bitched by these two guys and like kind of showing like how this sort of like what may lead to this sort of like power trip type thing in a domestic relationship. I think it was important to show like we don't see that often when with depictions of domestic violence. I don't think they often like take the time to show like why someone might be doing this. And I think it does it
Yeah.
not in a way to defend him, but like almost in a way to show him is even more pathetic like because he can only stand up when against like someone either fucking chained up or someone who he has this sort of control over.
I definitely see that. I see as well. I think it's interesting. I think what puts this above, like, because it's very easy to treat this material in a very tasteless and like kind of detestable way, and I was worried watching it was going to be like that. And I actually thought a lot of like the darker moments were handled pretty tastefully. And
Yeah,
I also think that showing the two kidnappers as not these all-powerful beings who are only there to like torture this young girl, it elevates that by showing them as like actually fleshed out characters who have like complex feelings and have like reasons for doing things and actually have like a pretty deep relationship with each other. And like
yeah, and
there's a lot of complexities to that, and I think that's where the screenplay should be credited as well, because I think this is a very solid screenplay for a not very, it's a pretty, not plotless, but like pretty simple narrative. And for what it is, I thought it was consistently engaging and
yeah, I
interesting.
agree. I think it also does a lot. I think it's really good at showing like the evil and like everyday people. Like there's a lot of little moments. Like the scene that like maybe haunted me the most was like when the male or the husband, I guess I should call him, I forget his name, when he's like he's trying to convince his wife that he didn't rape her,
Hmm.
and it like cuts to like kind of a POV shot from the room in which the girl's locked in, and you see him look in and like give this like little wink. And that's just it was just such a haunting like little moment that was so well shot and so well done that kind of like just chilled me to my bone. There was that, and then there was the scene where the mother's screaming for her at the end, and
Yep.
he's looking out the door, and he like looks and like gives her a little like smile or nod. And it's just like the idea that like you can come across anyone in everyday life and you don't know, like you literally have no clue what they could be doing in their own homes. Like it's a scary thought. And
I
I've
thought,
always been part like movies like this have always like dug deep with me. Just the idea of like someone being trapped, someone being captured is like really just like the thought of that in real life just really gets under my skin. And it's like something I, like you were saying, is it's a morality issue that I did find a lot of the beginning stuff hard to grapple with, of like why, like what's the purpose of me seeing this. But I do think it does a good job in showing it. Like it's brutal, but it also does a lot of like not showing, you know what I mean? Like it does a lot
yeah,
to like not show.
it came off as not very exploitative, which is
Yeah,
pretty hard to do with this subject matter. And I mean, that's especially important when it's, again, this is based off of a real life event that
I
occurred.
didn't know
And
that.
yeah, and so like that's just something you need to treat it especially carefully. And I think it does a pretty decent job of that. I would say for me, the moment that really affected me was again when the her mom's screaming, and you can really see the struggle in the wife's face in deciding what to
Yeah,
do and
when
the
I said
fear in her eyes, and
when I said ending,
that
I
was
wasn't
really affecting to
referring.
me.
When I meant ending, I wasn't referring to that. I meant like very ending, like when she's like walking out and it goes all like slow mo and like the kind of cheesy music plays. I think the sequence before that is excellent with her screaming outside and
Oh, I really
just
like the music. That's some Joy Division. That's good stuff.
I thought it came off a little cheesy with when combined with the slow motion. Um,
I believe it's Joy Division. I'm not sure. Yeah, I thought that worked for me as well.
but yeah, yeah, it's a hard story. It's the idea of like how do you tell, like a lot of movie making is for the purpose of entertainment, especially a lot of times horror movies are often for entertainment, especially with something that creates suspense like this. And how do you portray real life violence when when in a way that's engaging but like isn't disrespectful to what it's about? I think it's a hard thing to grapple with, and I think this mostly does do well with that.
I agree, and I think I don't know. It's definitely not one, and I don't think anyone would be eager to revisit. But
No.
I think for the source material, it was handled in a much better way than I'd expect. A pretty, I think this was a straight to Hulu, like pretty unpopular movie, which it also sucks. Not to talk about Letterboxd too much. The number one review for this is just a really bad take, which is
Yeah,
like, did you see that?
it's like,
It's just
and
like,
I don't want to
oh,
like,
I love.
and I don't want to like take anything away from the reviewer, because obviously you're entitled to your own opinion, and like if this isn't the type of movie that you want to see, that you're allowed to say that. But it's just one of those like, it's
They
one of
went
those ones
in
where it's
wanting to hate it, and they did.
it's hard to talk about.
It's one of the.
I don't.
It's
I'm not even. I don't know if I even want to like touch on it, just because I don't want to.
Well, I just want to touch on it because I just think it sucks because this is like an unknown movie by this was a first time filmmaker, and the number one review that you immediately see when you scroll down is just like a kind of bad take on it that will probably dissuade a lot of people from wanting
Yeah,
to
that's
check it
true.
out. So I think that review did not give this movie a lot of credit at all, and I just it to me
It
it was just
it felt
it just
diminishing.
yeah, it just felt very frustrating to see that that was the most liked and most popular review, considering that I think this was clearly like a passion project. And I mean, it's definitely not perfect or anything, but I think for what it is going for, it was more tasteful and thought-provoking than I
Yeah,
expected.
and that's not to say like it's not to say I don't understand somebody not liking this or like not wanting to watch it, but I think definitely is an issue with like stuff like that becoming top reviews and just, but also it's like maybe I think sometimes maybe like that sort of warning in front of a movie is like good, because there certainly are going to be a lot of people who don't want to watch this because of the subject matter. But it just is hard when it gets into like applying a score to that, applying a score to something that's more of a trigger warning than a review. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but from that review, I took it as this movie is just another one of those movies that like it just enjoys rape and
It was
enjoys torture,
the
and
reviews
I
like
just
I'm
think
sick
that's
of
very diminishing.
yeah, the reviews basically like I'm sick of seeing violence against women in movies. And I guess a lot of the arguments under were like, okay, so no one's allowed to like make movies about that subject matter, because like it's a tricky issue of like, I personally think that any like it's important to have movies that deal with the subject matter, because I think art about real life shit is important to have,
Hmm.
because it does,
Mhm.
well, it may trigger some people, it may help other people get through something or like connect with other people on a different level. um I don't know. I think I agree with you that it does suck that it's the top review, but I don't know, it's a tricky issue.
I definitely would recommend this to people if you're willing to do it. I mean, uh,
Yeah,
it's you just have to be aware of what you're getting into before you watch it, I
yeah,
guess. And
it's
going with a more open mind than like you're just gonna watch another movie where someone gets raped and tortured for an hour and a half. Which is like, sure, if you want to boil it down to its basics, that's kind of what it is, but it's a lot deeper than that, I think.
yeah, it's like calling something like I don't know, like
Irreversible or something.
4 months, 3 weeks, and whatever, I forget the numbers, but like
2 days.
2 days.
calling that one of those is like, okay, well,
Mhm.
it's not. I don't know. Tricky
Mm.
stuff. Tricky. Certainly a heavy movie. If definitely if you don't want to watch something that kind of graphically depicts sexual violence against a younger woman or even domestic violence, I wouldn't recommend it there. But if you're willing to go in with an open mind, certainly, I would recommend this. I think it was good. Nick,
Me
if
as
you have
well.
anything to say, go ahead.
I'd also
Sorry for
recommend
kind
it.
of taking over.
I don't know. I don't have much to say because like that's like everything really. It's like it's really effective. I'll give it that. Very good thriller. I liked it. It's just like it's hard to say like you like a movie like this, you know? Like I can say I respect it, but I'm not gonna go out and watch it again.
Yeah, I guess that's how I felt with
And
Angst.
also, yeah, there's one
With what?
scene
With
I
Angst.
like issue
Oh
with.
yeah.
It's the scene where he kicks the dog to death. I was like, that kind of came out of nowhere. And it kind of reminded me of The Lobster. I suppose that's not the movie's fault, but like, it's that kind of like over
That
the
scene was
top.
brutal.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was pretty effective for me.
I guess
It was set up, and there was like enough setup where I thought it was justified.
I hate to get nitpicky, but and be one of those guys, but I guess I had like minor issues with like the whole like code and the note thing because
Yeah,
it
I
was
wasn't
like
a fan of that
because
either.
it was
Yeah,
like
that
because it was like
also
because it was like the
what?
most because one it's like the most obvious code you can write into the note, and like the wife like looks at it, she thoroughly looks it over, and like the top half has the capitalized letters and the bottom half doesn't. Why would you not just be like, okay, write this all again in all lowercase just to be sure? I don't know. And then I don't know why they needed a second note. It's just minor like plot
also-
stuff. I hate to get nitpicky,
I don't know
but
why
like,
she chose that address.
yeah, that
Like,
stuff was
did she
confusing
not-
too. I didn't.
I think she just picked a random address, correct?
I think
But
she
how
saw.
is
I
she
think
so
that's
On
the
the
one.
street.
That's probably the one she saw. She might not have remembered because she was able to look out the window from inside. Maybe she saw that one.
I didn't have a
wasn't-
problem with that.
I didn't have a problem with that. I had a more problem with why did the wife like let that letter go, and like
Yeah.
it's just a dumb
I mean, I guess
code.
you could, if you want to really be devil's advocate, you could say she had like a subconscious want for her to escape, but and
I
she was
wouldn't
like
think of
somewhat
that.
aware of it. I mean, you could argue that,
Maybe.
That's a
but
stretch. That's a stretch.
it is a stretch. I mean, it's kind of dumb, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's not gonna
you
like
know,
super
yeah.
affect my
I
experience.
hate to get I don't like getting nitpicky, but that it felt like a plot hole that it irked me enough that I felt I needed to bring it up, at least to see if you guys felt the same way. I don't know. Besides that, it was a pretty tight screenplay. There are
Yeah.
multiple scenes in it that I felt very, very tense.
She shits on command too, so you know that's something.
Well, I think it was
I don't think it was on
Def-
command.
a defensive response. I think no, I think it was purpose. I think she did it on purpose.
No, she did
Well,
on
I
purpose,
thought
but it wasn't.
it was on
It was
purpose.
yeah, it was on. There was it wasn't like she was told shit.
No, on
Well,
her own
she
command. She
command
didn't mean
herself.
Oh.
I didn't say like she.
I feel like everyone can shit on command.
no.
I
If
don't
I wanted
know.
to right now, I could not.
Yeah.
I guess I have a
I
more
believe so.
talented asshole than you.
I don't know. I guess you just
Alright.
have to like put me in a high stress situation. Let's see if I can shit on command.
We'll test it out.
So
Put it up
not
on the
like the
Patreon.
direction this is headed.
Anyway, Hounds of Love. What do you got?
What's the scores?
I was between a 6 and a 7. I will go 7.
Yeah, I was at a 7. I mean, yeah, I'm at a 7.
Yeah, I'm at 7 too, honestly.
Well,
Okay.
higher than I
Yeah,
thought for Nick.
We all kind of. Well, I said I liked it. I don't know. I said I liked
He did
You
start by saying
you
it was
seem
effective.
bummed though. You seem like you weren't
it.
crazy.
No, I'm
about
just tired right now. That's why.
it. Always
All right,
great
we'll move
energy
on.
for the podcast.
We'll move on to something that's sure to get you
Sure to
blood
get
pumping.
Nick's gears going.
Haxan,
You know it.
a film from the 1920s.
1922,
Yeah, by
almost
his
100
name's-
years old.
I know that's crazy.
Jeez.
Benjamin
I
Christensen.
remember it like yesterday when it came
Um,
out.
I
This-
remember when
this
it came out
film-
to the cinemas.
is a documentary, technically, that features reenactments, dramatizations, I guess, of witchcraft ages and other information. I don't know what else to say about it other than that. It's a documentary about witches from the 1920s.
Separated into 7 parts.
Separated in 7 parts, dealing with different witch stuff. I mean, what do you guys think?
Nicholas.
I thought it was great. I was very happy watching this. It was extremely interesting. I think one of the things I came out with surprised that I loved was the costume design and like the creature design. It was really fucking cool. And overall, I was so interested in this movie. I was very happy with how it came out.
I'm going to say it. This movie, better than Vampire.
I'm going to say it too. I think this movie was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So good.
Oh my goodness. I was worried that I wouldn't get a single like love out of this Halloween spectacular, but Haxan came in and blessed me with one of the most interesting documentaries and unique film experiences I have ever had.
Also pretty freaking edgy for
absolute
1922 movie.
There's full-on sacrilege. There's full-on like sacrilege, torture, baby sacrifices. This movie goes insane places, and it
also
is
a pretty damning account of not only witchcraft but like religion in general.
Yeah,
and
it's the evil
and
that
mental institutions and hospitals.
I wish one of my like only main issues is I wish it got a little more into like how shitty mental institutions are. I wish it got a little more into that.
I think
just because I was making the connection on my own, but I wish it got more into that.
I do think that could have been a matter of either censorship or fears of being censored.
Which it's not a huge. It's not a huge gripe.
The critiques that it did give were pretty
gets them in
smart.
There.
And
I just wish it like
the final
it out more.
shot is brilliant of this movie. Of the hot showers to the people being burned at the stake.
Yeah, it's a great connection to make.
At it, but I just think as the movie progresses and as it becomes increasingly absurd, the amount of people who are tortured and killed, and just how blunt it is, as it's like, yeah, this happened to hundreds of women. It's just
not hundreds, thousands,
hundreds of women.
There's a quote
in town, and
there's a quote: "The witch madness ravages wherever these judges go." The direct quote from the movie. Also, another quote from the movie that made me laugh. Where is it? It's during the witchcraft era. It was dangerous to be old and ugly, but it was not safe to be pretty and young either. It's just a funny line. I think this movie was like really funny at times, especially towards like the first act.
They
like
all kiss the devil's ass.
They kiss the devil's ass. The shot of there's like funny painting shots of like the witch cursing the guy's feet. There's a part where he puts a curse on someone's mouth. It's just a lot of like witches fucking around and being kind of awesome. And like the witch parties looked awesome. And
another thing this movie did was make the witch like lifestyle look way more fun.
Cool. Witch parties looked crazy.
And I just think the concept of like, I mean, it's not the most subtle movie ever, but the concept of like kind of very heavily implying that like religion causes more harm than like what is considered evil, which is like witchcraft and stuff, is like a very controversial and brave statement to be making in 1922.
Yeah, and it's definitely like satirical in that way because it does go out of its way to like portray these so-called witches in the most like over the top and ridiculous way possible, when like the movie clearly understands that it was all a hoax. That like it brings up the idea of like a love potion early on, and it like clicked with me. I was like,
was basically a joke.
It clicked with me, and I was like, hold up, is the whole concept of a love potion something that like pious men cooked up to explain them like getting with other women, it like clicked with me, and like I was like, oh, this movie's like also really insightful about the witchcraft era, and like in a way
Yeah,
that
I
like
feel like I learned a lot.
I learned a lot about medieval torture devices. It shows them in
That whole
pretty
section was
graphic
awesome.
detail.
And
That's
like the
like the
whole
most horrific part of the movie, in my opinion.
Oh my
Like
god,
just the
yeah.
descriptions
the
of these
actress
things.
who
It's
volunteered
horrifying.
to
That
be
was
tortured.
crazy. I was like, whoa.
She's fucking crazy, man.
It's so crazy to
I love
watch
how
that
he
Saying that
footage.
I love how
torture
he kept
device.
going. But
How
it was a cool look into like, oh, even people on set in the 1920s like to like fuck around a little bit. Like it's cool. It's
Yeah,
funny
put
to
me in the torture
imagine
device, bro.
it's like very Jackass almost in a way, like which is not what I would expect to a comparison I was expecting to make.
there's a lot of like meta moments in this movie too, where he directly speaks about actresses or to the
Yeah.
audience, and it's just like it feels way ahead of its
Oh
time.
my, it feels like something that could have came out last year, to be honest. Like a lot of the painting stuff reminds me of, I don't know, what we do in the shadows. They do a lot of funny like stuff with like they'll have like fake medieval paintings and stuff, and a lot of like the comedy they do in this movie through that reminded me of that in a way. Um I don't know, I thought this was just so genius, so modern in a way that I have never seen out of an older silent film since like Passion of Joan of Arc. I think is the other one that I think is holds up incredibly well. Um,
Hmm.
I could go on and on talking about Nick. You go ahead. You say some stuff.
I don't know. I don't have much to say just because, like I said, this is really fucking interesting. Like the whole topic. And you think like it would start to dull out a little bit, but they learned to expand on it and go to different areas, and then at the end take it to the modern times. What was modern times for the 1920s?
Yeah, and
And
the whole
overall, it's no,
go
no, go ahead.
go.
No, my thought was finished. I just
Fine, I'll
get to
go.
sit here in silence.
I think the jumping to something different. I think the musical choices are often very funny.
Hmm.
Like they'll have an old woman being tortured to like this goofy like folky music, and but it's just like shows that this movie clearly has like this very modern sense of humor and this modern satirical sense of humor about it that I just thought was so like fascinating to see that I've just never seen out of something made in the 1920s, early 1920s, not even like late 20s.
Yeah, and
It's-
it's a very modern take on like on religion too, and how basically harmful religion can be, and how it can end up doing a lot more harm than good in most cases.
yeah, in that
And
way it
just like
does.
again, a pretty modern take on like the horrors of mental institutions and how poorly we treat people who have mental disabilities in the
This is the
world.
1920s Joker.
Also, it's like beautifully shot, and the sets are
Mhm.
fantastic, and the costumes are
Yeah.
fantastic, and there's some absolutely gnarly imagery going on throughout. It's
Just so
just
many funny devil scenes.
oh my god, I
With the
know, and
devil.
like in even yeah, the devil with his tongue thing, and even like the paintings of hell in the beginning. There's a scene where he's like, "Look at the eagerness of the two devils tending the cauldron," and then it like zooms in on like these like two little devils like excitingly lighting the cauldron with like the boiling bodies above. It just like it's just so fascinating. There's so many little moments of like just such genius stuff. I
This
love how
was
the answer to everything back then, every medical problem was they would just whip it out of you.
Oh my
Like the one
God,
guy
yeah.
had like a bruise or something, and they started fucking like, all right, we gotta whip you to get the sin out of you.
And that one guy's like, "You didn't whip me enough. Now I'm going to hell."
And then yeah, I was just by the time it got to the torture devices, I was completely on board. Like I was like, this is insane in a way that I was not expecting it to be, and it's just a one of a kind movie. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
this was
Yeah.
before this was made before they made I forgot exactly what they were called, like the rules for
Oh,
like
the
movies.
shit.
of like what you can and cannot show. I
what
don't
you're
know if that
talking
was
about.
only
It's
for America or.
It's
But
I
there's
know what you're
like
talking about. I
there's
forget the name of it.
nudity and extreme violence in
Yeah, I
this
was about
They
to
movie,
say, I
sacrifice
was
a
surprised to
baby.
see nudity.
and it's really really shocking and pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and it
Yes,
just
I was
goes. It
very
talks
happy.
about. It gets into the idea of like discrimination against people with disabilities, and because it
Mhm.
talks about, it does the little montage showing like the type of people who would get cast as witches, of being people who had a sort of some sort of disfigurement or disability. And I think it gets into that idea of discrimination and like how those people are discriminated on. And then obviously it goes on to make the connection to mental institutes, which really like ties it together in this way that makes it almost like this essay put to film, like making this really genius and really like forward thinking connection. That it's like a connection that is obvious to make. I don't even know. I wouldn't say obvious to make. I think I don't even know if I've seen that connection being made between like the modern institutionalization of people with mental illness and the previous day or the witchcraft stuff. I don't know. I just thought it was genius across the board. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
I would totally
I
watch this
agree.
don't have
again.
anything else.
It's a pretty good
Me too.
Halloween
I'm
flick
very
too. Got me in the mood.
yeah, honestly.
Best
It really
Halloween
All
puts
the
you in a
documentary.
witchcraft. Yeah.
Yeah,
Besides Halloween, of course.
Scores.
I'm
He's thinking about it.
I was between. I'm really thinking
He's
about it.
thinking
I was
about it.
between a 9 and a 10. You know what? It's Halloween, baby. We got to give one of them. I'm giving it a 10. A 10 out of 10.
Nick, I'm giving it a 9.
No, I'm feeling a 10. I was very happy with this one.
Dang.
2 10s. Yeah,
I'm
I was.
Sorry.
I
Might be,
I was.
might be a 10 someday, but
I was at a 9, but you know what? I've grown to love it. I think it's just this fully unique thing that is just so gave me a lot of joy watching.
Yeah.
I agree.
Watch Passion of Joan of Arc if you want something that deals
You
with similar
enjoy
themes.
babies being tortured? You
So favorites?
I think it's
Haxan.
Haxan across the board.
Haxan.
Halloween favorite. Easily.
Well,
I was it,
oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
really redeemed this for me. Everything else I was
Yeah,
kind
the
of mixed
B
on.
episode was kind of a dud for
Yeah.
film wise.
I
mean,
disagree, but
I like Bedevilled,
We don't want to hash that out again.
but
Overall solid. I think we
this
could
episode was great for me. I thoroughly enjoyed every film we watched.
good for you.
You guys
All
are all
right.
just a bunch of Debbie Downers.
All right. Well, we gave 10s and you didn't.
Okay, well, that
So
makes
yeah,
up for
who's the
my other
downer now,
positive scores.
bitch?
I guess we can do another Halloween recommendation. Do we want to just say like each give like our favorite Halloween movie
I don't
or
know
one of
what
our
my favorite
one of our
Halloween
favorite
movie
one of our
is.
favorites.
I'll say one I always watch around the Halloween season is Trick or Treat. This is a Michael Dougherty like
not what I was expecting.
anthology film. I think it's a lot of fun. This is one you could just put on Halloween, you know, get you in that mood. It's got gore, it's got violence. It's just a whole lot of fun, you know. And I highly recommend it for the Halloween season.
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Carter.
I really like the Scream series besides Scream 4. I really like those are good to put you in the Halloween mood.
Scream
And
2 is so underrated.
I agree. I think Scream 3 is underrated as well.
I think I've seen part of it.
I don't like Scream 3 at all.
Scream 3 is low-key kind of good.
Is it a zombie? Robert Zombie?
No. Halloween 1, 2, and 3 are all great. 2 is very underrated and very good. 3 is also good, although that's not underrated anymore. Everyone Loves 3 now.
I fucking love 3.
And those are all good movies to get you in the Halloween spirit, as they say.
I'll go with some.
And I'm trying to think of like a new one I watched that I
Jesus,
thoroughly
you wasted
enjoyed
that
this
one.
year.
Yeah, I was like,
Singing.
I told him to recommend
This
one, and now
motherfucker
Okay,
he's,
is
fine.
taking half the
he's
guy.
writing. He's
Never
writing a
mind.
whole goddamn list. He disappeared. He's a jack-o'-lantern.
I'm trying
Oh.
to think of movies that
Okay, then I'll
I
take
watched
over.
this month that I liked.
Bro, you already got one.
No.
You got more than one.
I'll take
Again,
over.
I recommend Cure.
This motherfucker.
You recommending the same movie.
Series.
I'll-
The Shining.
God, you motherfucker! I was just gonna say The Shining. The Shining, one of the scariest movies ever made. One of the most perfect movies ever made. I guess since you
already
took
know
that,
how I feel about it.
if you took that, I'll say that The Thing is maybe my second
Ooh.
favorite.
Ooh,
The
Thing's
Thing
so
is
good.
Oh my god.
just absolutely
So
I
good.
watched it again
It's so
recently.
fucking
Just
good.
absolutely the perfect monster design, perfect set, perfect performances. The most suspenseful theme in cinematic history, perhaps. The blood test scene, just brilliant. The colors,
So good.
everything about it. The music, beautiful. And then I'll say Eraserhead, because
I just watched that the other day.
perfect film. Also,
So good.
Absolutely.
that's Nick's
Yo, and
favorite.
shouts out to a
Yes, it
previously
is my
talked
favorite
about
movie.
Audition. That's a great.
Why would you shout
Yeah.
that out? Don't just shout it out.
Shouts it out. And shout out to Funny Games, always.
Itchy the Killer is good.
Itchy the Killer is a banger.
Serenity.
Shouts
out
out
to Troll
to
2.
Possession.
Some horror movie that I like. I don't know. I should probably
Exorcist
watch
2.
more horror movies. Whatever. Shouts out to all horror movies.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Black Christmas, I
Happy
loved.
Halloween.
Carter doesn't love that because he's stupid.
Black
I
Christmas
could
is
not
great.
remember one thing.
Black Christmas, one of the scariest endings ever put to film.
The ending is good. The rest is a bit of a snooze.
God, the ending is so scary.
To be
Those
honest.
phone calls, I don't know how you can call that snooze cruise.
Mm,
I love Black
pretty
Christmas. Love it.
disappointing slasher.
Love it. They live. All right, we're
They
going
live.
on.
So
What's the worst horror movie?
We're having fun. We're having
What's
fun
the
here.
worst? What's the worst?
What's the
Antebellum.
worst horror movie?
Antebellum.
Jeepers Creepers
Is-
3.
Slavery is so scary.
God, I hate Creep. Creep sucks.
Nick likes Creep, right?
Yeah, I like both Creeps.
So annoying.
I haven't seen Creep since I was probably like 12.
Mark Duplass thinks he's so fucking. He thinks he's such a good actor in that movie.
He is a good
He
actor.
is. What the fuck?
He is. But he's trying so hard in that movie. And it's so annoying.
No, I completely disagree.
He's good in Paddleton.
Yeah, I'm saying
Paddleton
in
is
that
one of the only
movie.
movies to make me cry.
Same.
Yo,
bawled
I
my
just
eyes
cried
out.
at a movie. I cried at the movie the other day, I think. Oh, never mind.
Bitch,
I cried to a song from a movie.
What song?
pussy.
It will not be stated on this podcast.
Why?
Airplug theme.
It's personal.
Will you say it after?
Yeah, sure. I will.
Alright.
I guess you'll never
Happy
know.
Halloween.
Oh wait,
audience.
I'll guess it after.
Yeah, I think you probably could tell. I think.
Is it a
Jesus,
movie you
I
watched
thought we were done
recently?
already.
Okay,
I don't know.
Nick
I
wants
shared
to
too
leave,
much
so I'm ending
information
this.
already. Nick has
wants to
been wanting to. I've seen his
I
eyelids
gotta
slowly
sleep.
shutting during this
Jeez.
whole podcast. I'm having a party tomorrow.